Hello, everybody. My name is John Jackson. I'm the chair of DeKalb County Democrats, and we are widely regarded as one of the strongest, not just county parties, but grassroots political organizations really in the country because we have such a dedicated group of grassroots activists that make up our committee and really roll up their sleeves to get the work done. And we're fighting on issues that matter the most to the people, like economic justice, like reproductive justice, voting rights, and healthcare, public safety, a wide range of issues. And after the 2020 season, where we played a big role in the national and federal level politics, we refocused 2021 on municipal elections because that is really what affects your quality of life a lot on a day-to-day basis is these local elections. And they've gone uncontested for so long. One of the oldest communities in DeKalb County is Tucker. It was settled around 1820. It was a real focal point, real important place in DeKalb during the Civil War when the Union Army came down to take the area, and we're going to try to take Tucker again on November 2nd, and standing for similar values, unity and inclusion, equality, and for years, there was a call to action from the community to me, actually before I became chair of DeKalb Dems, even when I was president of Young Dems, folks would say, John, we've got to find somebody to run for mayor of Tucker. There was just a wide array of issues. And the folks who formed the city of Tucker really don't represent modern day Tucker. They represent an old Tucker that just wasn't inclusive to what composes Tucker of today. And so it's an interesting story about how I recruited and how we recruited our candidate here. Our mutual friend who lives in Johns Creek was having a birthday party for her 1-year-old son. Cute little boy, cute little baby named Matthew. And I got hit in the eye with a tennis ball. I was like, whoa. And it happened to be one of Robin's boys. And Robin made them both come up and apologize to me. And that's just the type of person of integrity he is. And I thought to myself, that wasn't even my concern. I was like, wait, do you live in Tucker by any chance? I'm like, I know you live in DeKalb County, but do you live in Tucker? We're looking for somebody. I didn't beat around the bush. I said, we're looking for somebody to step up and run for mayor. And I've always thought Robin was great for any political leadership role. I mean, he's got just great experience, campaign experience. He defends our values in the Lion's Den on Fox News. Not everybody can do that. He's gone through some of the hardest military training that exists. As a Marine, I respect what Army Rangers go through in their indoctrination training. I've watched documentaries. It looks painful just watching it. So, and then they're expected, and they jump out of airplanes into harm's way just to be shot at. And I'm like, I think he can handle mayor of Tucker. So I'm so glad he stepped up to do this. I consider him to be a transformational leader, a man of integrity and values, and just somebody who would make everyone in the community proud that he would be the most senior representative at the municipal level. So I thank everyone for being here today. Maria, for Rosa, Gloria for putting this together. Karen Mixon, as always, for holding it down with the technology. Please get to know Robin Byro. Make sure you vote for him. preferably an early voting by October 29th. Yeah, I'm not going to hold you all any longer. I'm going to give this over to the moderators. So once again, thank you all for participating today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm so glad to have you here today to introduce this amazing candidate. And I really look forward to talking with you, Robin, as well as with my colleague, Feroza, to really have a talk about what our vision for Tucker is. As John said, he did recruit you, but I'm really curious, Robin. It's one thing to have someone kind of whisper in your ear. It's another thing to take that leap, especially with you having two young boys to take care of. What kind of spurred you to say, okay, yeah, this is it for me. This is the next step?
I'm not going to lie, Maria. People have been asking me to run for something for over a decade, but this was different. When I heard about what was happening here in Tucker, when I heard that our incumbent mayor would not allow a non-discrimination ordinance to even be read for consideration for the city council, when I heard that he said that there was no such thing as discrimination, especially here in Tucker, there is no discrimination in Tucker, it reminded me of what I hear on conservative media advocating for democratic causes, representing the Democratic counterpoint. When I hear them say all lives matter, when I hear them say there's no such thing as racism, it sparked all of that. And I said that is not true. There is discrimination every day. There have been national cases of discrimination that have occurred right here within Tucker. And it's vitally important to protect vulnerable people, to acknowledge that discrimination against minorities and vulnerable people does exist, and to do something and protect those people. So that's what's inspired me to finally pull the trigger and run. But I had the support of the county party and the infrastructure that you guys did have from 2020 with volunteers. And because look, it was a race to the finish with only a few months to go. So sitting down and talking, when John and Ted asked me, have you considered running for municipal office? When I heard about the structure that was there and the support that I would get from DeKalb Dems, I knew that it was something that I could take on as a single father. And look, I've served on many, many boards of directors for nonprofits and civic organizations. So I'm used to all of that, but this spoke to my heart, Maria. So that's what's up.
Well, we appreciate that. So we hit on a little bit on the non-discrimination ordinance as opposed to resolution, which is a very important distinction. But, as mayor, what do you see as really being your top 3 or 4 priorities to lead the way for our city?
As I've said before, getting a non-discrimination ordinance with teeth in it on the council agenda, read for consideration within my first 60 days, is something that I've pledged to do. As you mentioned, there has been a resolution that has been read before city council now. And look, that came about, I'll be honest with you, that came about during a debate when our incumbent mayor said, look, all lives matter. I can make a resolution saying so. Hearing that, I knew what was coming, and we got basically what is essentially an all lives matter resolution that they're now calling an inclusivity resolution. It's a baby step, but we've got to have a non-discrimination ordinance with teeth in it to protect vulnerable populations. You could talk to any resident here. They're going to tell you that one of their main concerns is protecting the trees. One of the things that people love about Tucker is the natural beauty in this area, but the land is being developed at an alarming rate. Our population has grown by 38% in the last 10 years, and trees and old growth trees are being cut down every day. And we don't have an arborist anymore in the city limits. That person was quit, and we haven't had a replacement. The city engineer, actually, who's responsible for roads and sidewalks, goes out and makes the determination about what trees stay. So I would love to bring on an arborist again, protect the trees, protect the green spaces. I also want to hire a full-time citizen responder. We have a citizen responder, I want to say in name only. I mean no disrespect when I say that, but our citizen responder is also the receptionist. And I want a dedicated full-time citizen responder that can take requests from the citizens and advocate for them. Because look, we have to partner with DeKalb County every day because of our intergovernmental agreement. They are the ones that handle roads and stormwater, drainage, all these things. But right now, our residents in the city limits, more often than not, are having to sue the county to take action about some of the more than 250 collapsed storm drains. So I want to hire a full-time dedicated citizen responder. But lastly, I just want the council members, we're gonna have 4 new council members. I want them to tell me what's happening in their district and because each different district is different. And I want them to come to me and tell me what the residents of those districts need. And we need to be having discussions about that so that we can address it as a council.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's very helpful for us to understand kind of what your priorities are. And thinking through, you definitely mentioned in the first 60 days, but in those first 100 days of office, what do you think will be your biggest focus area to get the ball rolling, essentially?
There's a lot of training. There will be four new people, maybe 5. And there's a lot of training that we all have to do. But what I want to do, like I said, is listen to the citizens. We need to have town halls. I've been walking, I've been canvassing, we've had 5 town halls and debates. So I've got a lot of feedback from the county, the citizenry, but we need more civic engagement. I've learned what people like about what the city has done, but there's a lot of room to grow. As a city, we just incorporated in 2016. So as a city, we're just now learning to crawl. And it's up to us to blaze a path forward with long-term economic growth. I can tell you that there is not any plan for our economic growth beyond 2026 when the SPLOST funds run out. So the first 100 days, we have got to sit down as a council and start charting a path forward to give us economic stability well into the future. But it's gonna require all of us meeting with one another and the members of our districts.
Well, thank you for creating the perfect segue into my next question. So I appreciate that. I really want to touch on the initial comprehensive plan. So, Tucker is a pretty new actual ratified city, but we've had a plan that's directed a lot of that initial growth, and it's gotten us to a pretty far place, but we're still not exactly where we want to be. And I think a lot has changed, certainly in the last year and a half, about what's important, where our priorities should be. And in my particular district, in District 1, we're still fractured, and many of our residents still have zip codes or mailing addresses that are in other areas. And it's an area that we've been asking for assistance for a long time and helping us create a more unified Tucker where we don't feel like we're an afterthought as part of the Tucker community. How do you see yourself working with our congressional representatives to better unify the city, both in terms of aligning our mailing addresses, but also in aligning our communities, like expanding our sidewalks, creating more of a unified feel across our districts?
I can tell that you're in District 1 because sidewalks are one of the main concerns in District 1. And I share your concerns about sort of the identity crisis that we have right here, particularly in District 1, because it's a Stone Mountain mailing address. When I first moved here, I really didn't quite understand, is this Stone Mountain? Is this Tucker? Is this Smoke Rise? So what we can do is work with the city. What I've proposed, there are 24 civic and community organizations that I counted that are in the city limits of Tucker, and they do fantastic work. But what the city's got to be doing and what we can be doing is getting a messaging together for new residents who move in, sort of a welcome packet, if you will. This is what the 24 different organizations do. This is how to get involved. This is their schedule. Welcome to Tucker. We're glad you're here. And this is where we came from. You just heard Chairman Jackson say our history. There needs to be sort of a history lesson in there. On some of it needs to be very honest history about where we've come from and where we're headed, because one of the things that we all love about Tucker and our greatest asset is our diversity. It's why I moved here. It's why I'm honored to raise my children here, because it is a very, very diverse population. but that is not representative right now on our city council. And that's what we're seeking to change. I'm super excited that we've got 13 incredible candidates for city council who all have incredible skill sets, a very diverse group of people. And it's been an honor of a lifetime to get to know each of them. I'm encouraging the voters to get to know each candidate and read up on them and vote for who best reflects their values. But there's a lot that we need to be doing to sort of coalesce the community, tap into that spirit of volunteerism. And you're right, we do need to work with our congressional leaders to accomplish that.
Thank you. To that effect as well. So tax money was originally allocated to the arts in the community in the past, but how do you hope to make Tucker a cultural center? There's been some discussions about the film industry in our area. And as you know, I'm part of a small business that is helping to bring the arts into Tucker. We had an amazing pop-up event at the Corner Cup yesterday where so many people came by just saying, oh, we need arts in this community. How do you see the city council helping promote arts within not only Tucker at large, but also within our town center?
Maria, I'm glad you asked that. And this also goes to somewhat of a history lesson. Public art installations are not allowed right now within the city limits. There's been a lot of question about why that is. Some of that it's been argued, it's been mentioned, rumored that it was because of protest art. But we need public art. I'm really glad to see that we have art in the alleys that has now come to Tucker. And that is a project that's being worked on right now with Tucker North Lake CID. They're championing that. We've got a fantastic art installation right now in one of our alleys. We need to open this up to the community. It needs to be a permitted thing. It needs to be encouraged. We need to encourage the local schools to get involved. Both of my children are incredibly creative. I've got one child at Smoke Rise Elementary School and one at Tucker Middle School. They would both love to participate in some public art installations. And it saddens me that for so long that was actually prohibited when we have some fantastic, incredible artists in this area. And there's plenty of funding for it. We can do fundraising. Like I said, there's 24 civic organizations who would love to get involved in this. And you can ask anybody that lives here and they'll tell you about the spirit of volunteerism. It runs deep here in Tucker. So I am confident that we can turn this out. It's just going to take the city to encourage it.
Yeah, I agree. So to that effect, I'm very excited about the Art and Alley project as well. And it was so nice meeting the representative yesterday to see what we could do with this, because it's, I came from East Atlanta, and public art was such a huge part of what made that community so vibrant. And so I can't wait to see that happen here. But there's been a lot of conversation about the ability of the Main Street Development Authority to really expand and have some real teeth in their ability to drive change within our downtown feel. Can you talk a little bit about what you kind of see as being an opportunity area there in terms of really enhancing our hometown, downtown Tucker feel that we're trying to develop?
Of course. Main Street did go through a revitalization several years ago. It used to be 4 lanes, and now it's 2 lanes with angled parking. That did help. That was not done by City Council, but that did help the flow of things on Main Street. We've got some fantastic new businesses and restaurants that have been moving on to Main Street. There are currently proposals for several of those businesses to start rooftop dining. I would love to see that. I'm hoping there's a way that city can help with that, because it would be a tremendous asset to all of the businesses on Main Street if we could have expansion space up on some of the rooftops. There's also about a 2-acre parcel of land behind Local 7 and Hot Betty's that the city just acquired for $1.2 million. They're currently reviewing 3 plans. I'll tell you what they are. One is for 178 parking spaces and no green space. We do need additional parking off of Main Street. The other plan calls for 74 parking spaces, a small green space, and a public amphitheater. I love that plan. That is the plan that I will advocate for, because I think having an amphitheater right off of Main Street would be fantastic. I would vote for that as one of the 7 votes of City Council. The other proposal would be to just retain it as green space for the future. We have the funds, though. That's a fine plan, but we have the funds to go ahead and put this in place now and get started on a public green space and amphitheater and parking. I think that would be a tremendous benefit to Main Street. Other than that, there are still some darkened storefronts there on Main Street that have been that way for a number of years. My opponent, interestingly enough, still has his signs on all of the vacant storefronts. I don't understand the campaign strategy there. But there are a number of vacant storefronts there on Main Street, and I would love to get those up and going. The city certainly can give some incentives to businesses to locate on that Main Street. It will also require it being sort of a scenic thoroughfare. Now, Main Street has been redeveloped, but off of Main Street, you've got Lawrenceville Highway, which really we need to be working as a city on a comprehensive plan. As you say, there is one, but the comprehensive plan has got to address making that a scenic corridor, because right now, when you drive down Lawrenceville Highway, because there was not an incorporated city until 2016, it's haphazard development. There are so many used tire shops and thrift stores and businesses that there's a lot of blight on Lawrenceville Highway. So that feeds into Main Street. We've got to address that. And the way that we can do that, let me speak to that. Right now, we're addressing some of those because they're uses that are no longer permitted there. So they're grandfathered. But a grandfathered use can only remain in business for as long as that use is operating. So code enforcement has got to be making sure that these businesses are abiding by the law, that they're permitted, and that any vehicles that are out there have current registrations, so that it doesn't become basically a couple mile long junkyard down Lawrenceville Highway leading onto our Main Street.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, as someone who lives very close to Clarkston, seeing the development along East Ponce through Clarkston has really helped create that feeling of, oh wow, this is a space that wants its citizens to stay here and participate in community life. And I think that looking beyond just the Main Street corridor and truly looking at those entryways into downtown Tucker is really just as vital for it. So thank you so much. I'm really excited now to turn it over to Ms. Feroza Syed, who is just an amazing activist and leader and inspiration and delight, and also a really darn good cook. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Feroza, who is just a delight, and I'm going to shut up now.
I'd like to thank Maria for that absolutely amazing introduction. DeKalb Democrats, Gloria Moore for putting this together, Chairman Jackson, and Robin, thank you for joining us to talk to some of your local constituents, and also thank you for your service. We're really appreciative of you.
Thank you.
You know, the honor of serving our country, and we really appreciate you for that. I'd like to start off as a real estate broker. You know, I'm seeing these values skyrocketing around Atlanta. I think right as we were starting this conversation, some of you who may be watching might have caught that, you know, I've done some really insane volume in the last about month and a half. One of my concerns, though, as an activist and an advocate, is making sure that we advocate for fair housing for people who are marginalized, who are disenfranchised, and that we make sure that all Atlantans and Tucker folks have accessible housing. So with that cost of housing throughout the Tucker and Atlanta area increasing dramatically, and even safe and affordable housing out of reach for other folks, how do you see the mayor's office in Tucker, in partnership with the city council, building a long-term sustainable housing strategy for our communities?
It comes to the definition of what affordable housing is. I don't consider affordable housing to be something that's costing $2,000 and up a month, which is what we're being told right now is affordable housing. That is not affordable for many, if not most people. There are still vacant tracts of land that are interior tracts of land that don't have frontage on big main thoroughfares. Those could very well be developed as affordable housing. but we've got to offer the developers tax credits to develop there. You know as well as I do, I'm in commercial real estate myself. They're not going to develop there if there's not the economic incentive. We have to incentivize developers to build affordable housing. One thing that the city can also do are set-asides. When if a developer wants to go and build an apartment complex of 100 new units and they want it to be luxury townhomes, I would love to see, for example, 8 to 10% of those set aside for true affordable housing. They don't need the same interior fit and finish. They don't need granite and quartz countertops and jetted tubs and these type of things. They can be true affordable housing, but the city has to mandate by virtue of that 8 to 10% typically in set-asides. But like I said, there's plenty of non-frontage land, and there are still tracts of land. We have a number of derelict warehouses, derelict retail space that's just sitting there darkened that could be redeveloped into some type of affordable housing. But the city, that comes down to the city incentivizing it.
Thank you so much. Economic development, especially for small business, is crucial to the future of Tucker. How will you lead the city to foster a diverse and thriving business community?
It is very vital to the community. And look, we are the only municipality within Metro Atlanta that has the benefit of having 2 CIDs, community improvement districts. They do a marvelous job of feeding into our tax base. I've already developed, I've got a great relationship with both of them currently. But there's more to small business than just the CIDs. There's a couple thousand, I think 2,800 small businesses right here within the Tucker city limits. And fun fact, there's only 1 small business incubator, and it's very, very small. I would love for the city to get involved in that project, and some of those spaces, some of the older spaces, for the Dollar General, for example, off of Lawrenceville Highway is closing and relocating down the street. It's going to leave that entire strip mall basically darkened. That strip mall, I would love for that to be repurposed as a small business incubator. It would be phenomenal. I'll tell you, that one really small space, I think it's about 1,500 square feet. They have 20 businesses that operate as small businesses out of that small business incubator that have their LLCs registered to that one address. And they have a shared conference room and offices that they can book. The city should be doing something like that to encourage small businesses and facilitate that. We also need to be offering incentives for women and minority-owned businesses here in Tucker because there aren't enough. You shop here, you do business here, you see it, they're just not enough right here within the city limits. One thing that we need to work toward, like I said, we just incorporated in 2016. As a city, we're just getting our learning how to crawl. But we need to be working toward having our own chamber of commerce that does everything possible to develop small business and enhance and helps them get on the track with small business loans, all of that. It all works together. And that is what I'm talking about. That's why I'm running. The mayor and city council have done a good job of setting up the structure of the city, but it's going to take a new mayor and new leadership to get us moving forward in the direction that we need to go for Rosa.
Oh, wow. I love your insightful and very thorough responses. I must say, this is amazing. And I'm learning so much as a resident in Tucker. Listening to you speak, your passion about these issues and your knowledge makes me feel so confident in your ability to lead Tucker. Thank you so much. Like housing, public safety is an issue all over our county and Atlanta, the greater Atlanta area. What are some of the solutions you support for improving public safety for all citizens and building strong relationships between the community and law enforcement?
And the DeKalb County also, because we do have the intergovernmental agreement, we do pay unincorporated DeKalb several $1 million a year for police forcing. And look, I've talked to the CIDs. They are in favor of Tucker standing up its own police force. It's something that we did examine when we were doing cityhood and going through the process of incorporating as a city. I'll be honest with you, we're just not there yet, but we can still be coordinating with DeKalb County to make sure that those tax dollars are spent appropriately, to make sure that we're getting enough police police patrols here throughout all 3 districts of Tucker. I can tell you that crime is up. We just had a meeting last Tuesday where lieutenant from DeKalb PD was there and did confirm that violent crime and property crime is up substantially. And that's going to require all hands on deck. Feroza, you've sold real estate here. You know that a lot of these communities here were built 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And those neighborhood watches that were established back then when these communities were new are no longer active. It's going to require the city to coordinate with DeKalb PD to reestablish, reactivate some of these neighborhood watches, neighborhood patrols. We also have got to stay on top of, I want to make sure that we have a good working agreement with DeKalb County, but there are 250, if not more, collapsed storm drains within the city limits of Tucker. And Tucker's not that big. There's only 37,000 residents here. So 250 collapsed storm drains is a safety hazard. There's one right across the street from me. I have 2 school-age boys. When that sinkhole started last year, the first thing my kids did was say, oh, I'm going to get my shorts on and go play in it. No. That is not how this works. We're not doing that. And you know, it's I don't want a baby Jessica moment with my kids down a well. So you know, but these are safety concerns. I've had residents talk to me about their concerns. They're concerned about letting their pets out, that they're worried their pets would fall in these collapsed storm drains and sinkholes. And they're all over the place. One of the residents right down the street on Mountain Shadow, the road is at risk of washing out because of inaction from DeKalb County. That's why I want to hire a citizen responder. This has become a public safety issue. One thing that we also have to look at is Tucker is an age-in-place community. The idea is that you're born here, you grow up here, you go to school here, and then you want to raise your family and grow old here yourself. It's a fantastic goal, but we've got to be offering some more support for our seniors. We don't have a senior center. That to me is also a public safety concern because it goes to mental health and well-being. These people feel marginalized. They feel invisible a lot of times by society. Our seniors are telling me in Tucker that they feel like a burden on the community. We never want them to feel like they're a burden. They have such a wealth of experience that they can share with us. And we need to invest in our seniors by having a senior center. There's no reason we can't turn one of these darkened retail centers into a city-sponsored senior center. So that and mental health services are another big one because that goes to some of the homelessness concerns and housing inequity that we're starting to see right here in Tucker are some of the mental health concerns for Rosa. So it all works together.
It sure does. As a follow-up question to that question regarding public safety, I know that obviously you're running as a Democrat and that sometimes there is some concern in community regarding, the police. What are your thoughts? And you can clarify to this for me a little bit as somebody who's not, in the know. Does a citizen responder also respond to, how we're seeing in smaller municipalities around the country that people are hiring folks to be responders for mental health situations or things like that, where they need, assistance to help, in a sense, decrease the burden on our fellow officers, right? Help them be able to respond to the true emergencies. Is that something that a citizen responder does? Or what are your thoughts about something like that, maybe potentially for Tucker?
Yes, it can be. And let me just say, our budget is not small. I mean, people love to say that Tucker is like Mayberry. I hate that equivocation because Mayberry was not diverse at all. We are not Mayberry, and that's not what I'm going for. If you want Mayberry, then you do need to reelect Mayor Amman and the people that are sitting there right now. We're looking to move forward. Part of that is hiring a citizen responder, if not more than one, because yes, it's about de-escalating that. If possible, I would love for the citizen responder to be able to take some of these mental health calls before they have to call the police. We've seen a lot of times that the police don't respond very well to mental health calls, and those escalate very quickly. So this is something that a citizen responder absolutely can do. And if this is something with a budget of $27 million a year that Tucker has, we can certainly afford $40,000 to $60,000 a year for one or more full-time citizen responders to work on the issues of the collapsed storm drains, holding DeKalb County's feet to the fire to make sure that our tax dollars are spent correctly, that they're being good stewards of our tax dollars, and to work on this mental health component that we're seeing has become a problem within the city limits of Tucker. And look, the housing moratorium, the eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance agreements will be expiring. There are like 900 cases right now that are pending. There are families that are already starting to be camping out in tents. This is not okay. There is money earmarked for these families in a time of crisis to keep them from becoming homeless. The citizen responder can help make sure that those funds are dispersed correctly so that we don't have more homeless. I mean, my sons, one of them goes to school with some students who are homeless right now going to that school. And it breaks my heart. We shouldn't have that here in Tucker, not with the faith community that we have and the spirit of volunteerism and the city budget that we've got and the federal grants, the CARES Act money. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, that's so sad. And thank you for that amazing response, because I've seen some of the statistics on citizen responders, and the statistics on that seem absolutely amazing as far as crime reduction. And it really seems like you're really thinking through what this looks like for the long term.
And I want to interrupt. Let me interrupt. And I agree. And which is why I'm grateful that we have one, but it should not be the same person that's answering the switchboard. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Now, going back really briefly, thank you for the introduction into the next question, talking about the pandemic, talking about homelessness. What do you see the role as mayor and city leadership in addressing this overall health and wellness of our community, especially in light of this pandemic, housing and health inequities that face many of our neighborhoods?
It's tough. That is multi-complex. They weren't prepared for COVID. I think even all of our city council members would agree with me saying that they were not prepared for COVID. They've been criticized heavily for their response, for bucking DeKalb County Health Department's recommendations, for going rogue on some of the CDC recommendations. I don't agree with that. I would follow any recommended guidance from the CDC and the DeKalb County Health. I would listen to scientists. It's one of the reasons I'm supporting Amani Barnes. I would love to have a scientist up on city council. I think that's great. Let's get it done. And she's part of the LGBTQ community. That's great. Let's have it. Let's bring it. Tucker City Council needs to be representative of the people that it governs. Government should always be representative of the people that it governs. It's just not right now. But to your question, the first thing we've got to do with the homeless community is get a census of what we've got to deal with right now. I've seen estimates as low as that we've got 15 people. I know it's a lot more than that. I've seen estimates ranging from 15 to several hundred. We need to have a proper census of our homeless so that we can determine what services we need to offer. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There are so many organizations throughout Metro Atlanta that we can partner with to stand up the same sort of services here, and it needs to be similar with a mental health component, a substance abuse component, and some of it needs to be job retraining, frankly, because there's a lot of people are getting put out of jobs right now by automation. That's going to be a problem for decades going forward. Parks and Recreation. One of my ideas is for Parks and Recreation to start offering certificate level programs at some of our facilities for students and for some of the homeless, so they can get trained in some of these certificate programs, get them trained in coding, give them a job skill that is marketable in today's economy so that they can get back on their feet. We can give them a little economic boost right now from some of the federal grant money, but we need to be training them in skills that are marketable in today's economy.
Wow, what a wonderful response. What other challenges do you anticipate facing as mayor of Tucker? And can you work with the council to make any needed changes as you move forward?
Yeah, so I can speak. First, I'll approach this the way that I did as an Army Ranger. You have a primary plan, a backup plan, and an emergency plan. We need all of those. And I appreciate the fact that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and you could go on the city's website. There's all these wonderful pages. Each document is about 80 pages apiece for Parks and Rec and all these different plans. But we have to have a way to pay for them. And there is not a way beyond 2026. I would at least like to have the discussion about impact fees. People are fighting me tooth and nail about developer paid impact fees, but I think that we can be grown men and women and have the discussion about developer paid impact fees, because we have to have a way to balance the budget. And I don't want it to be completely solely dependent upon SPLOST funds. SPLOST funds are very necessary right now, the penny sales tax. But we've got to have a way to pay for these things going forward. I love all of the new parks and paths that we have in Tucker. They're fantastic. During the pandemic, they were a godsend because I took my kids there all the time to burn off that energy. But we have to have a way to maintain those. So, however we can, we've got to set out long-term plans for economic sustained growth. I was very dissatisfied when I heard that there was no plan beyond 2026 for the city's finances. That's going to be the biggest plan, the biggest challenge right from the offset. Of course, there will be a little bit of a learning curve. I'm a quick learner, and like I said, I've gotten to know everybody on city council. All of those candidates, I'm sure, are very adept and will be quick learners. There's lots of training that is mandatory that we will all be sent to learn how municipal government actually functions in the day-to-day life. I'm not worried at all about continuity of services. I'll hit the ground running, and there will be a primary plan, a backup plan, and an emergency plan.
Wow, Robin. I just hearing you speak, I'm ready to vote right now. I've had a moment to, I want to do it right now on my computer. I'm like, where do I push my button and turn it in? What do you expect is the biggest challenge to winning this race? And how will you be addressing it?
The biggest challenge is this. I was advised by so many consultants when I first started running that the only way to beat an incumbent was to go extremely negative. Now, for Rosa, you live here. That's not Tucker. That's not going to work here. So we are reinventing the ground game. We are reinventing what it means to have a grassroots mayoral race against an incumbent right here. The DeKalb County Democratic Party is reinventing. It is requiring a lot of organization and it's requiring a lot of money. One of the challenges is definitely fundraising. You can go to www.robinfortucker.com and make any contribution. I don't care if it's $5, any little bit helps. And I match donations dollar for dollar out of my own pocket. And I'm not a rich man, but I'm putting my money where my mouth is and matching donations dollar for dollar. So right now, that's the message. We've got to get, I paid for one mailer to go out to 20,000 households. It was fantastic. It got the campaign the boost that it needed because we needed to give the voters truth in advertising about who I am and who our mayor is, because our incumbent mayor is in fact two-time former chairman of the DeKalb GOP. It seems like my biggest challenge from the get-go was people didn't understand that. He's done a fantastic job of hiding that fact, of obfuscating, of hiding behind nonpartisan. What it means to have a nonpartisan race is simply, in the city code, it's one sentence. That is that there will not be a party designation beside our names, and there won't be a primary. That is it, period, end of story. It is not an infringement on my First Amendment right to say that I am a Democrat. I have fought for progressive and democratic causes my whole life. It is who I am ideologically. The voters deserve to know ideologically where I stand, and they deserve to know where my opponent stands. And I would assert that his stances are decidedly partisan on basic public health measures like wearing masks, getting vaccinations. You can't get him to recommend anyone get a vaccine. He'll say, go talk to your doctor, make the decision that's best for you. Don't get me started. But it's things like this, that these are decidedly partisan issues. I'm giving truth in advertising. I'm giving transparency. It has been educating the voters that, look, I don't think that he's been a bad mayor in terms of getting the structure of the city going. Is this what you want going forward? Do you know what you voted for before? Are you aware and are you ready for that for the next 4 years? Or would you like to plot a different, more progressive course that is more inclusive of the community that it represents?
Thank you so much, Robin. I am really, really moved again by all of your responses. Everything is so articulate, your real estate experience, your experience serving our country. I'd like to thank you again, the DeKalb Democrats, for pulling this amazing conversation together. Gloria, Maria, for co-moderating this panel with me. You definitely have my vote, as well as several other of our Democratic candidates here.
Absolutely.
You're in wonderful, wonderful hands with the DeKalb Democrats, because I know from experience last year, when the DeKalb Democrats are involved, we not only saved Georgia, we saved the nation. So we can definitely deliver DeKalb County. We just got to get these voters out. Please make a donation to Robin Bureau's campaign. And I'm going to turn it back over to John Jackson. Thank you guys for having me, and I will see you guys at the next one.
Thanks, Rosa. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Well, I just think Tucker is a case in point of the people coming together and rolling up their sleeves and deciding to really play a role in the future of their community. Right now, we're turning out the vote more than Atlanta. In Atlanta, millions of dollars are being spent, and we're just rolling up our sleeves and getting a higher turnout. We have to continue that through Election Day. And, I am really, really hopeful that we will be celebrating Robin becoming the mayor-elect on November 2nd. I believe we have a strong chance. We just can't let our foot off the gas. We've got to keep on talking to voters and spreading the message and letting people know that the future of Tucker is best with Robin Biro at the top job. Thank you for everyone coming tonight. Make sure you donate DeKalbDems.com so we can continue to elect great folks like Robin from the local level to re-electing Senator Warnock next year. So yeah, thank you for showing up today. That completes the program.
John, I just want to give Robin just a few minutes, if he'd like to have it, for some closing comments, if that's okay with you.
I'll be happy to. I want to echo what Chairman Jackson said about how important this is. I have been involved in politics at the presidential level and at the state level in U.S. Senate elections for all of my adult life, but politics matters most where you live at the municipal level. It is incredibly important. This is a new venture for DeKalb Democrats to get involved at the local municipal level. But as we all know, it bubbles up from there because it will absolutely affect the outcome of the congressional races and the races higher up. And 2024 is going to be here before we know it also. So it is incredibly important that we stress how important it is to turn out the vote in these municipal elections. Republicans are counting on us to have our traditionally low voter turnout, but the numbers right now are incredible. We are changing the game. That is thanks to DeKalb Democratic Party and all of the ground game that we have going on right now. We have volunteers out canvassing every single day, and the money is being incredibly, very well spent, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It's a historic movement. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Robin. We're all excited about Tucker, the chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Georgia. Congresswoman Nikema Williams was bragging about you last night at a gala in the city. The whole state is watching, and I believe you're going to perform very well on Election Day. So thank you, Robin. Thank you for inspiring us all, and thank you for stepping up to lead.
Thank you. Appreciate
for your
everybody
faith.
being here. Thank you, John. Thank you, Feroza, Maria, and especially thank you, Robin, for giving us your time this afternoon.
Thank you all.
And look forward to celebrating you next week.
Let's get it done.
All right.